Hey, I'm Doug Man. I just want to do this tutorial video for the cast, the molding of the Estator, as described in the post. Just want to go over first the materials that I'm going to be using, and these are materials that you can pretty much pick up anywhere at your local hardware store, as well as your local dollar store. First of all, I'm going to talk a bit about the actual print. The print, as you well know, most of you that have maybe looked at the post, the first print that I did, it was really difficult to remove the actual the workpiece. So it was actually conveyed to me it'd probably be a good idea if I broke it up into different parts, and that would make it a lot easier to remove the actual workpiece. So I did. I split up the actual Estator into 12 pieces, and I made the actual part where the workpiece is going to go a little bit bigger, but in doing that I had reduced the amount of holes on the Estator from 24 to 12. So I've got each individual piece, I've got actual tabs there so you can screw it down to a piece of wood, and I've got it split up into 12 pieces on the Estator, and for the outer edge of the Estator piece I've got this 3D printed part here, which is in 4 pieces. In order to get that even, well, first of all, explain this. This is a piece of MDF. I've cut 10 inches square, and I've got number 6 bolts put in each location there, and I've actually got those holes inset with 24-inch inset so that the actual bolt heads fit into that piece. I use 3/4 inch length bolts as well, so if you want to replicate that, MDF is 1/2 inch, and I just spray painted it gray just for aesthetics. So you may be wondering, how am I going to get this straight or perfect? Obviously this is a mechanical part and we need to get it as straight as possible. In doing that, I first set the outer wall onto my board, and I marked each of the corresponding holes that I've got here. You've got 12 holes to actually mount this piece to the board. So I took that, I mounted that first where I put the screw holes in, drew and just took my drill press and screwed into each location there. And again, I just took a little 1/4 inch paddle drill bit and drilled out so I can inset the actual bolt heads. Well, in order to get the middle in there, you can see there I've got the bolt holes, 12, one per each piece in there. What I did is I actually took my part here and I 3D printed a stencil. So those 2 longer pieces actually fit into 2 of the corresponding holes on the outer wall, and I was able to mark, or actually I just mounted the outer wall, and I mounted the stencil, and I drilled into each of those corresponding holes for the stencil, and that gave me a pretty well near perfect template for my actual holder here. This is not, of course, going to be part of the motor. This is just to hold it in place. This is just to give you a base to when you actually pour your shot. The number 8 shot here I've got already prepared with that's been painted or coated with just some gray primer / paint that I picked up from the local hardware store. I'm going to take a break here. Well, I'm going to go ahead and explain each of the materials. I've already talked about the 3D printed parts, the stencil, and the board. Again, the number 8 shot, and there's going to be a part list if I don't have it already. I've got some stuff listed on the forum if you wanted to actually try to replicate this. So I got the shot, some petroleum jelly, and the actual tape. So on this part here, the actual 3D printed part, you will actually tape around each of the parts that are going to be where the actual shot is going in, and that's going to do a couple different things. It's going to keep it from sticking to the 3D printed part, and it's going to cover up any imperfections that you may may run into with your 3D printed parts and cover up any cracks. So, you know, the tape will go across the base. Of course, your screw holes or bolt holes will stick up through that. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you do need to be cut to cover all the space that the resin is actually going to stick to. Once you put your tape down and you tape each of your parts, you'll want to go through and use some Q-tips and take your petroleum jelly and coat all that space over those tapes, that taped area. Okay, so you got your shot in place. I use birthday party hats. I just cut the tips off just to have some disposable funnels for my shot, because obviously you're going to have some relatively small spaces. This worked really good with the first mold that I tried. The other thing, after you get your, you want to get that prepared prior to starting, because once you pour your two-part resin together, you're only going to have a limited amount of time. Lead a direction, say from 8 to 12 minutes before it starts to set, where you're not going to be able to work with it. For the resin, I actually mix those in these condiment bottles that I've got from the dollar store in the area. They're $1 a piece. I got a few of them. I didn't know how many it's going to take. With the other mold, it took 2. This mold is a little bit bigger. It may take you, I don't think it'll take you more than 2 for this one as well. But that's what I used. Obviously, it's got a pointed top, and it makes it a lot easier to go around each of those edges and get that liquid into all those areas. So that is pretty much everything that I used. Other than these, I used some skewer sticks to both mix my fiberglass and also as an agitator. If I've got any of my shots sticking together, I can go along and kind of agitate and get it through the hole into those nooks and crannies on my 3D print. But that's it. That's all the parts. That's all the materials that I'm actually using here. Again, that's number 6 bolts, and they are 3/4 of an inch in length. And I think that's all the parts. I'm going to pause the video at this point, and I'll pick it back up when I start mixing the resin and pouring the shot into the mold.